didn't you live on a kibbutz?
Yeah,
And how long? And tell us about that.
yeah.
Some of your observations there in Israel.
That was a key period of time. It's about 5, 6 months. Marilee and I, in our second year of marriage, was able to go with my father-in-law to their ministry, Baptist for Israel Institute,
Hmm.
and we got to live on a kibbutz, Ashdod Yokovikud, which is about 3 kilometers south of the Sea of Galilee. If you ever look at a map, you'll see the Jordan River come down,
Hmm.
and then there's a little other river. It's called the Yarmouk River, where the Yarmouk and the Jordan meet. It's called the Waterfalls of Jacob, which is Yaakov. So it's Ashdod Yokov. Ikud is the political party. So this kibbutz was probably about 500, 600 people. It had a plastic factory that it made plastic bottles for Revlon, which is interesting because all kibbutzim not only has agriculture, it also has to have industry so that if you have a bad agricultural year, you can still make it financially. And then we had everything. We had olives, cotton, dates, bananas, chickens, everything agriculturally you could imagine was on that kibbutz. And we got to work in all the areas. Where I kind of settled was the kitchen. And there were some women in there that liked me working with them. And so that worked out really well. And they were older Jewish women. One of them, Heike, had marks of her number from Auschwitz.
Hmm.
If she was not obviously killed, but she had her mark on her forearm. It was
Wow.
really something.
Wow.
But
That's sobering.
Pastor, this is the cool thing that we learned when we lived on that kibbutz. So this is way back in the 80s,
Okay.
but this is still very true. Those Israelis want one thing, and it's peace.
Hmm.
And when we lived with those Israelis, they call them kibbutzniks. And
Okay.
oh, by the way, they made these kibbutz in 1948 because they knew they would be attacked.
Mm.
So this was to be the first line of defense. So they bordered their whole country with these kibbutzim, these farm communes, that they knew that if they were attacked, that would be their first line of defense. But if you live with these Israelis as we did and worked with them every day, you will find they had one desire. They're willing to give up anything
Right.
Hmm.
just to have peace.
Yeah.
And I don't think we understand that. I think we're going to talk about some other things along that line.
Yeah.
But the kibbutz really taught us how special those Israelis
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
and their desires. And by the way, we had Palestinians that helped us. The kibbutzniks were in good relationships with and the Palestinians were thankful for the kibbutzniks
Mm.
that gave them jobs. And by the way, those Palestinians live better in Israel than any other Arab country that they would have been.
I'm sure
You
you're
were to
right.
take them to
Yeah.
any other Arab country, they wouldn't have the freedoms that they have in Israel. They're even in the Knesset.
Hmm.
They have a political presence.
Right. Yeah.
What
And a voice through that political presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
there's
Advocates.
so much. Well, this is what I was going to talk to you about. There's so much ignorance
Ah.
about from us in America about what's
Yeah.
really true in Israel.
Yeah.
But the keep living on the kibbutz really helped me give me a perspective. And by the way, we were able to talk about the Yeshua HaMashiach,
Amen.
Jesus Christ,
Amen.
almost
Yeah.
every day. And
Absolutely.
that is not sensational and that is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Almost every day
Yeah.
we shared. They always want to know what's a Baptist.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so we didn't tell them, our Baptistic distinctives.
Sure.
We told them about the Messiah
Yeah.
because their view of Christianity was Catholicism.
Mhm.
So when we were able to talk to them, we gave them our individual relationship with the Yeshua HaMashiach. And it was
Amen.
great.
That's
Pastor
perfect.
Schettler, I watched a video this morning. You're talking about them wanting peace, Israel, and I watched a video of since World War One, all the land that's Israel has given up in
Yeah.
order to maintain peace, and it's just staggering.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm in college right now, and if you've turned on your TV, even once in the past week, you've probably seen the protests that are happening on college campuses. So I wonder, with your special, unique interest in Israel, what are your thoughts on those protests?
Yeah, you know what? I will tell you, Pastor sent me a couple questions ahead of time,
Yeah.
and one of them was about that. And I got to tell you, I got a verse because this is extremely interesting passage. When Absalom was going to take over the kingdom, he incited a protest against David's kingdom. And who did he get? And it says it in 2 Samuel. This is so interesting. 2 Samuel chapter 15. And listen to this. And with Absalom went 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called. Now listen to these 200 men. And they went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything. And they were young men that Absalom got. So who did
Very appropriate.
Yeah.
so who
Very
did Absalom get to overthrow David's kingdom? He got young men who knew not anything. They went in their simplicity.
That's a great answer.
That is amazing, because Absalom knew that he could get these young people all fired up about something they didn't understand at all.
Yeah.
David's going to be the best king they ever could have ever had. But Absalom was to charge up these people. Let me tell you something. The number one thing with all these protests is ignorance.
Right. Yeah.
They don't know the issues.
Yeah.
They have no idea who and what Hamas is. They don't have a clue.
Right. The Hebrew word has to do with violence, right?
Yeah,
That's definitionally what they stand
Well,
for.
the other thing, that's exactly right. The other thing is, if those people protesting for Hamas had any idea what Hamas would do to them,
Yes.
it's humorous in a very sick way.
Right.
Like, how can you be so foolish,
Yeah.
brutish,
Yeah.
stupid
Yeah.
about so the number one thing to understand about all these agitators and all these protesters is their ignorance. And then the money that's behind these people. And that's what Absalom did too. He bought these guys to help overtake David's kingdom, and they went in their simplicity. Look the word up. Their ignorance. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. So we see all of this, and the media just hypes all of this. These young people do not have a clue what Hamas are terrorists. By the way, if Hamas would have taken the billions of dollars that were sent to Gaza, they could have had the most beautiful resort center on the Mediterranean.
Right.
They could have built resorts. Instead, they built tunnels. Think about that.
Yeah.
They have been given so much money that they could have built. Gaza could have been one of the great resort places of the whole Mediterranean. Israel helped subsidize that all over Americans. And what did the Hamas do with that money? They built tunnels. They're not interested in the Palestinians at all.
Yeah.
And, it really does rile me.
Yeah, I have so much respect for your in-laws. Dr. Kratz, Leland Kratz, of course, is in heaven now, but Mary Kratz. And I think in this podcast room, I have a copy of his book right here. And I didn't plan on mentioning
let me
this,
tell
but
you.
you mentioned the ignorance that people have. Like, this is a terrific
That
resource.
book is,
Israel
and I don't
is-
just say that because that's my father-in-law.
Yeah, this is a terrifically helpful book, and I think it's available like on Amazon. People could type this in and purchase this, but this is super informative as far as the history of Israel. And your in-laws were, I don't think they call them missionaries, even though that's how they served. I think in Israel it's ambassadors.
Yeah.
Dr. Kratz told me that at one point.
Well, you know what? Or the best word is Baptist.
Yeah, okay,
They went
yeah.
as Baptist.
But 40 years in
Yeah,
there
yeah.
just preaching Jesus to people. And so this is a terrifically helpful resource if anybody's interested in learning more about Israel. Yeah.